A new adjuster pulls up to a wind and hail claim. He already did the work we talked about in part 1 of this series. He reviewed the notice of loss. He started his scope notes. He looked at the roof layout the night before. He knows the policyholder reported possible hail damage to the roof and a water stain in the living room. So far, he is doing better than the adjuster who shows up with a ladder, a clipboard, and blind optimism. But now he is standing in the driveway looking at the actual roof. And this is where the next decision matters. Not what damage is on the roof, not how many slopes there are, not whether he is going to write for repair or replacement. The first real question is much simpler. Can I inspect this roof safely? Because before you step on a roof, you need to understand something. There is no claim file impressive enough to justify falling off a roof. You are an adjuster. You are not a stuntman with a measuring tape, and the roof will still be there if you need to slow down and make a better decision. This is part 2 of our 7-part series, Wind and Hail Roof Damage for New Adjusters. And today we are talking about safety, ladder setup, and the first look before you ever step onto the shingles. A roof inspection does not begin at the ridge. It begins from the ground. When you arrive at the property, take a minute and look at the roof before you touch the ladder. Look at the height, the pitch, the roof condition, the access points, the ground where the ladder will sit, and look at the weather. Look at the gutters, landscaping, fences, power lines, trees, and anything else that could affect your access. This is not wasted time. This is the inspection before the inspection. A lot of new adjusters get nervous because they think they have to climb every roof to prove they are serious. That is not professionalism. That is ego wearing boots. A professional adjuster knows when to climb. A better adjuster knows when not to. In every safety briefing you have ever or will ever go to, you should hear, before we ever lean that tool against the house, we need to focus on the most important issue between us and getting on the roof. Safety first. That is not just a nice phrase. That is a field rule. If the roof is wet, too steep, too high, too brittle, too damaged, covered in excessive loose granules, surrounded by unsafe access, or outside your skill level, you need to slow down. And if you cannot safely access the roof, you document why and follow the carrier or firm guidelines for what to do next. Do not let a homeowner, contractor, manager, or your own pride push you into making a bad safety decision. The first roof safety decision is access. Where can you safely place the ladder? You want firm, level ground. Not loose gravel, not wet grass on a slope, not mulch that shifts under the ladder feet, not a flower bed where one ladder foot is floating in botanical sadness. You also need to look at what is above you. Power lines matter, tree limbs matter, gutters matter, soft or damaged fascia matters. The roof edge matters. If your ladder access point is unsafe, the roof inspection is already in trouble. Now, let's talk about the ladder itself. Different ladders are designed for different types of climbing and standing, and using the wrong style of ladder can result in a fall or serious injury. That sounds obvious until you see someone trying to solve a roof access problem with the wrong ladder and too much confidence. For most roof inspections, adjusters are commonly dealing with extension ladders, but the point is not just bring a ladder. The point is to bring the right ladder. You need the right style, the right height, the right duty rating, and the right material. Extension ladders should generally be 7 to 10 feet longer than the highest support or contact point, such as the wall or roof line. That extra length allows for proper setup, ladder overlap, height restrictions, and, when appropriate, extension above the roof line. So if your ladder barely reaches the gutter, that is not a victory. That is a warning. You need enough ladder to access the roof safely. You also need to understand ladder duty rating. Your ladder is designed to safely hold a specific amount of weight. That includes your fully clothed weight plus the weight of any tools or materials you are carrying. Ladder duty ratings are based on maximum safe load capacity, and the total weight on the ladder must stay under that rating. This matters because your ladder does not care how confident you feel. It cares about physics, and physics has terrible customer service. Ladder material also matters. Ladders may be made from fiberglass, wood, or aluminum, and that potential contact with electrical wires should have a major impact on ladder material selection. That is the kind of thing new adjusters need to hear before they are in a driveway trying to decide whether aluminum and overhead power lines should become friends. They should not. Now, let's talk about ladder setup. One of the most basic ladder setup rules is the 4-to-1 rule. For every 4 feet of eave height, the base of the ladder should be placed about 1 foot out from the wall. That setup angle matters. Too steep and the ladder can tip backward. Too shallow and the ladder can slide out. Neither option is an acceptable career development plan. Before you climb, make sure the ladder feet are secure. Make sure the ladder is stable. Make sure it extends properly. Make sure it is not sitting on something loose, uneven, wet, or unstable. Make sure the top contact point is solid. And before you transition from ladder to roof, slow down. That transition is one of the most dangerous moments of the inspection. Do not rush it. Do not carry too much in your hands. Do not step onto a surface you have not evaluated. And do not assume the roof is safe just because the ladder got you there. Once you are at the roof edge, look at the shingles. Are they wet? Are they brittle? Are they covered in an excessive amount of loose granules? Are they curled, deteriorated, or damaged? Is the decking soft? Is the slope steeper than it looked from the ground? Is the roof surface something you can safely walk? If the answer is no, then the answer is no. That does not make you less of an adjuster. That makes you someone who gets to go home. A lot of new adjusters think roof safety is just about getting onto the roof. It is not. It is also about getting back down. You need to think about your exit before you commit to the inspection. Where is your ladder? Can you get back to it safely? Will the surface still be safe if weather changes? Are you aware of where you are stepping? Are you staying away from edges, skylights, soft decking, and unsafe areas? Do not get so focused on finding damage that you forget where your feet are. A roof inspection requires attention, not panic, not ego. Attention. Now, what happens if you cannot safely access the roof? You document it. Take photos from the ladder. You take photos from the ground. You photograph the elevations. You photograph visible roof conditions from safe locations. You note the reason roof access was unsafe. You follow the carrier or firm guidelines. You may need ladder assist, drone review, engineer review, supervisor guidance, or another approved process depending on the assignment. The key is that you do not just skip the roof and say nothing. If you could not inspect it, explain why. Your file still has to tell the story. That is the theme that will keep coming up in this series. Your file has to explain what happened after you leave. If you climbed the roof, document what you found. If you did not climb the roof, document why you did not. Either way, the file needs to make sense, and that starts before your boots ever touch the shingles. So here is the simple lesson for part 2. Before you step on the roof, inspect your access. Look at the property. Look at the roof. Look at the weather. Look at the ladder. Look at the ground. Look at your own ability and experience. Choose the right ladder. Set it up correctly. Respect the pitch, the surface, and the conditions. And if the roof is not safe, do not climb it. There is no shame in making a smart safety decision. There is plenty of shame in falling off a roof because you wanted to look confident. This is part 2 of our 7-part series, Wind and Hail Roof Damage for New Adjusters. In part 1, we talked about knowing before you go. In part 2, we are reminding you that before you inspect roof damage, you need to make sure you can safely inspect the roof. Learn the roof, inspect the system, document the evidence, and most importantly, stay safe enough to inspect the next claim. If you are licensed and ready to build practical field skills, check out our Wind and Hail Online Adjuster Certification course with Adjuster Academy of Texas. Need to get licensed first? Start with our Texas All Lines Online Adjuster Pre-Licensing course. Now get to work.